Something wrong with my director, I swear to God. But welcome everybody to Nain Shorts. If this is your first time watching, thank you for joining us. If you're returning, thank you for the support. Either way, like and subscribe if you haven't already. We'd greatly appreciate it. We are once again here in the basement of our home, Physique Magnifique, 387 Grand Avenue in South San Francisco. If you're ever in the area, stop on by. Give us a holler. We'd love to play, show you the facilities and everything that we have available here at Physique Magnifique. All right, so questioning. All right, lately I've been in my head wondering different ideas, different things, and just mulling over what it is that I have. And something came up to me, and it's kind of been bugging me a little bit, but how can I, the practitioner, make my techniques work? Now, in a class setting, things are given to you because that is the process that I think we all use to learn the sequence of events, to learn the moves. But if we stay there in a real life situation, which is what I train for, being able to protect myself in a real life attack, in something violent, how do I maintain that technique? How do I get those moves to work, even though the other person is not willing to let me do that technique, not willing to hold their arm out or give me the targets that I need to achieve that? Well, I came up with a whole bunch of ideas. I came up with a bunch of different avenues that I could go with, and it became a rabbit hole of just different things that could come up. But ultimately, we got to a point where I realized there are a lot of other lessons that I've learned, that I've been taught along the way in the process of learning these techniques that would aid me in being able to accomplish those things. But if I do not take the time to notice the difference between learning it in the class and applying it in an open, organic setting that is a fight, a chaotic fight between two different people or an attacker towards you, then I'm going to fall short. And I want to explore a little bit more and show you a bit of an example as to what that really looks like, because ultimately I want to be able to walk away. Now, am I willing to take an insult and bow out and go in a different direction? Yes, because that's ultimately what I want. I want to just be able to get out of that situation and not necessarily engage. But I'm human. I may not be able to do that. I may not be able to change the mindset of my attacker quickly enough to be able to avoid that conflict. So if I do get there, what am I looking for? What am I waiting for? Before this starts happening, what is going through my head? And I think Mike Tyson said it the best. Everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. And I'm very grateful to my instructors, because one of the very first things they taught me was, you're going to be in a fight, you're going to get hurt. Now, I think that is an incredible place to start, because if we think that just because we're really good at a technique or all the techniques that we know, that we're not going to get hurt, I think we're misrepresenting the idea of a violent attack, because we may not always see it coming, which means you're going to be hurt, and how you respond afterwards is going to make the difference of whether or not you walk away safely from that situation. So, if we accept that we're going to get hurt, then we already have our mindset that, okay, once it happens, if it happens, when it happens, we have to do something more. We have to continue and go as far as we need to, and that's to each and every person to decide how far that is in order to get out of that situation. But the vehicle that we use will be the techniques that we've learned in order to accomplish that. Now, that's one of those lessons that I'm talking about. You're going to get hurt. It's a fight. Okay? Accept it, train it, and then see what happens. Did you stay focused enough to be able to move on to the next step? And one other lesson that stands to mind at this moment is always assume your opponent is better than you, because again, that puts me in a mindset to be more cautious, to not be overconfident in what I am capable of doing until it's proven, oh, it worked, or holy crap, I need to think of something fast because this person is really giving it to me. And if we don't have that mindset from the beginning, I don't know how else to adapt to an ever-changing situation, which is a fight itself. And that led to really exploring, and I want to invite Rick now so we can show the process that kind of happened in my head in reference to how do we make a technique work, or more specifically, how do I make a technique work? You guys may be far more proficient. Hey, Rick. Far more skilled, because is it really the technique itself that makes something possible, or is it the skill set of the individual practitioner that allows that technique to work in an otherwise chaotic situation? Now we're going to start with our hubat lubat, or parry place trap as we call it. Very simple. He throws a straight punch. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. I punch. Now it's his turn. 2, 3. Now we've all done this. We've all done a variation of it. We all are fed something to allow us to learn the moves, to be able to practice the ideas. But now we have to change something. We have to add a dynamic. If he throws a legitimate punch, I got to do maybe one move. Where were the other 3? Well, if I try to do it the way that it was taught to me in a stagnant position, then I'm not exploring what the point of these ideas actually are. Depending on your lessons and your teachings, for me it was, you need to do a series of movements because you don't know if the first one's going to work. Okay? Now, those series of contacts can be a multitude of things. We're just learning them in one sequence because we need to practice the idea of moving back and forth. But beyond that, once he throws that real punch, oh, okay, that was a response to the energy that he threw at me. I had 1, 2, the third one was here. Okay, but why did that work this time? But it didn't at the beginning. And at the beginning, I was just trying to do the moves as they were taught to me. But the second one, I'm trying to accomplish a goal using the technique. And holy crap, that actually makes a lot of sense. The technique is no longer you trying to accomplish a series of movements, but rather the vehicle that you use to accomplish a goal. My goal was to not get punched. And he's not just going to throw one, so me turning him kind of defeated that purpose. And if I continue with the lessons before, like constantly being close to him, well then now this is a choke. Now I can drop him. Now I can go and move on to the other techniques that I've learned, from the ground and pound to grappling, or whatever things that you have trained, or that I've trained in this particular instance, that would be viable, that would be useful now. Huh. That's an interesting thought. Thank you, Rick.
Spot on.
No, appreciate it. Thank you. And no, you're good. I'm talking to them.
You didn't.
Yeah, I did. The reason I didn't is because, as I mentioned before, these shorts are my exploration of my teachings, of the things that I've been given, and more importantly, how I'm interpreting them. And in this very process, the reason why I look so shocked and my eyes look so big is because I have come to that realization. A realization that I may have been taught prior as a lesson. A realization that I'm sure we've talked about at one point or another. But the important part is that I reached that realization because now it resonates as an idea that was born from me struggling through these questions. From wondering, what am I truly capable of? And when am I capable of doing that? And I don't know how else to explain it, but it's a rush. It's a bit of a mind clarity that happens when you come to those conclusions. Again, nothing new, nothing that hasn't been taught, nothing that you may not have heard before. But the significance of it coming from me is what makes it that much more important for me. And ultimately, that's why we train. We train for ourselves, or at least that's why I train. I train so I can go home at the end of the day. I train so I can protect the people that I love. And there's a lot to be said about the mentality that we need in order to accomplish that. Techniques are great and can work, but it's to the individual to make them work in those situations. And there are people who have much higher skill sets than I. I've been blessed to meet a lot of people, and I've even been in tournaments with individuals who are far superior in skill sets than me. Jordan, a good friend from Sacramento, who's a world champion in Yao Yang. I was able to go into the ring with him in a stick fighting tournament, padded sticks, and going up against him and the way he moves, I felt like I was moving in slow motion. And he got the better of me. And sure, they're padded sticks, and I didn't go into the tournament with the sense of wishing to win, but rather see if I, in a stressful situation, as stressful as I can get without actually getting into a real fight and putting my life in danger, still think properly. And as far as I'm concerned, I did all the things that I intended to do, much slower than him. And when I looked at the video, it wasn't actually that much different. But in a life or death situation, that split second would have been enough for me to have died. And to me, that was the lesson. That was the reason. Because, again, my training is focused on that. It's not to win tournaments or win trophies. And it's not to gain any sort of title. It is literally so I can go home at the end of the day. So these questions are constantly popping into my head, because I want to know what I'm capable of and whether or not I would be capable of doing those things in an actual situation where I'm being attacked or I need to protect somebody who is. Because as far as I know, no one really trains to break arms. People aren't walking out of gyms with casts or braces. Now, it happens, but they're usually accidental. I would never imagine hurting my training partner or my instructor just to prove that a technique would work. I would be a horrible person and my guilt would get the best of me and I'd probably quit. But it is something we need to consider, because one day I may have to do that to save my life or save the life of somebody else. So what are the things then that I can train? What are the ideas and concepts that I can move forward to allow me just a better chance? Like my teachers have told me, just a few percentages higher of survivability. Because ultimately, I think that's all we really can do, and hope that we never have to find out. But again, to each their own. You have your own ideas, you have your own concepts, and many of you are far more skilled than I am. So maybe you have a different take on it. Maybe your interpretation is one that I haven't considered. And I invite you, please share, because your ideas may help me grow to a different level, maybe a level that I do want to reach. I honestly don't want to get into a fight and find out whether or not I could or couldn't. But having that sense definitely makes me walk a little bit calmer and a little bit more secure in my everyday life. And ultimately, isn't that what we want? Or at least I know I do. So, thank you for joining me on this Nain short. I hope you enjoyed it. A few little announcements. We have a date for the Konversation fundraiser tournament. Not tournament, I'm sorry. Ooh, that comes next. Ooh, we should do a tournament. But we don't have that in the works yet. We have a seminar with some of our old guests from Konversation, and that will be June 4th. Sorry, I don't even know the date. This bad for me. June 4th of this year, we will be having in Manteca. Get on Facebook to get all the details and everything that you need. If you can't make it, that sucks, but if you can donate, we can take that electronically. So anything you can do to help us out. Again, this is out of our own pocket, and we're putting this together with the help of all our friends because we want to continue doing this. We want to continue putting out content, especially on the Konversation side, and getting the stories of some wonderful people out there and on the internet forever. So anyone who ever wants to revisit any of our old shows, please do so. There's a lot of great content to be had. On top of that, we will have our Konversation picnic for our guests. That will be July 23rd. That's what I was thinking about. I was thinking about the picnic in July. So that is also going to be coming up. Once we solidify the space, we'll let everybody know and send out the information. Personal note, I was asked to fill in a spot at an upcoming seminar, the Golden Dragon Ohana, which will be the 26th of this month, February. So I'm looking forward to that. A little nervous because it's my first time in front of a large group, but I hope to have a lot of fun, and I hope I get invited to other ones. I guess I'll know whether or not I suck depending on how many people say, "Hey, let's bring you back," or "You know what? Thank you for your service. We'll call you." But again, thank you very much for joining me. Till the next one, 3, 2, 1, cut!